Hi there, and welcome to the Multiply You podcast, where we showcase top experts in their space and reveal all the secrets you need to know to multiply you.
Hey, welcome everybody. Austin Clark here, host of the Multiply You podcast. Really excited to be with everybody again today. I've got another fantastic guest, Brad, who I'll introduce here in a moment, but he is running with his partner Lee, just a fantastic pest control company out of Florida. And I won't spoil anything, but Brad and his partner started this I'm talking literally days before COVID happened. And so we've got a real new, young success story, if you will, that I'm excited to be able to talk more about and how they made it through in a different way that maybe others of us didn't need to or have to because we were around for a few years or maybe a few decades before that. And so it was just more of a difficult thing that we had to get through. Brad and his partner Lee, they had to be a little bit more creative and do that in a different way because they didn't have years of history and a super robust customer base and revenue to back it. So I'm excited to be able to talk with him more about that in just a moment. This episode, as they all are, as you know, it's brought to you by my company, Moxie Pest Control. We're wrapping up kind of annual plans. They're set in stone. We're already here in the very first part of February. We're excited about the things that we did and that we accomplished in 2022 as it relates to growth, monitoring key performance indicators, different improvements that we had year over year, quarter over quarter. But we couldn't be more thrilled and excited about 2023 and what that outlook looks like. It involves a lot of growth for us, as it always does. And part of that growth has been via acquisition. And so if you are out there, specifically in the Phoenix market or Kansas City, St. Louis, Chicago, Minnesota, Cincinnati, or Indiana markets, or really any market that you see that we are on the map as you go to our site, please reach out. I'd love to be able to discuss that with you, even if you have no intent of divesting and seeing what the next chapter of your life might look like. I think that I could be a good positive resource, whether it's now or in the future down the road or not with us at all, as it relates to what some of your options may be, as we've done dozens of deals over the last couple of years and learned from those. And some have gone great. Most of them have gone great. Some we've definitely had learning experiences with. And so we'd love to share some of that knowledge, but you can reach out to me directly. My cell, you can call or text me. It's 480-254-9730. You can also email me directly at aclark@moxiepestcontrol.com. Brad, like I said, he runs a fantastic company with his partner, Lee, Eagle Pest Control. It is out of Florida, which is a unique geographical market as it relates. I don't know that there's a market quite like it throughout the rest of the United States, including along the coast of southern and middle of California. It's just kind of an ecosystem in and of itself. It's probably the only geographical area or pest company that may include alligators or crocodiles on their pest control website. But Brad Ward, he originally started in the pest industry for Middleton Lawn and Pest years ago. It's a company that originated and perfected a once-a-year pest control treatment. Brad developed as a leader in the pest sales and certainly in networking in the Northeast Florida market. Brad started Eagle Pest Solutions with co-owner Lee Parcels on January 1st, 2020. Or is that right? Or is it January 2nd, 2020?
January 2nd.
January 2nd. Probably because, banks were closed. You couldn't form the company on 1/1, so it had to be 1/2, Eagle Pest Solutions is the premier once-a-year pest control company based in Palm Coast, Florida. So, Brad, welcome to the show. Thank you for your time. How are you doing today?
Thank you, Austin. Very good. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be on. I love your podcast. For sure. Enjoy listening to it every week. So thanks for what you do for the pest industry, for sure.
No, of course. Happy to do it. It's one of the highlights of my week when I get to have conversations like this. Let's maybe, I know that people really like to understand a little bit more of the backstory. Your story as it relates to Eagle Pest is just, 2-3 years old.
Right.
But obviously you started in the industry nearly a decade and a half before that. And so could you back us up a little bit and tell us a little bit about your background and some of your history?
Sure, absolutely. So basically, when my kids were grown and on their own, we moved down to Florida from Central Illinois. Small town kid, grew up in a town of 500 people. So we came down. My parents actually were wintering in Flagler Beach. And when we came down, I had owned a landscaping company in Illinois, and I wanted to get into sales for lawn care. So came down and I interviewed at two companies. One was True Green, which everyone's heard of, and the other Middleton Lawn and Pest Control. Being brand new, just coming from Illinois, I had not heard of Middleton, even though they had a great name in the pest control industry. And long story short, I got job offers from both. Did some more research and decided that Middleton was the best option. Thank goodness I did that, because I got into the pest control industry, not just lawn care. And at Middleton, I met Lee Parcells. Lee, my business partner, he started with Chuck Steinmetz, All-American Sears, basically, that did all the work for Sears back in the day. So Lee had a lot of experience doing once a year pest control. We became fast friends, excuse me. And Middleton ended up being bought by Massey. So Lee and I both worked for Massey Services for several years. Unfortunately, we just lost Harvey Massey recently. Great guy.
I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah. Great gentleman. Really kind to me when I was at Massey. So that was a big loss for the industry. So feel for him, his family, for sure. But worked at Massey, and then Pete Steinmetz with Turner Pest Control reached out to me. And long story short, I went to Turner. About 9 months later, Lee came to Turner, and we worked for Turner for several years together. Finally, we got to the point we decided it's time to do our own thing. So we took months, probably 9 months, researching what we want to do. Do we want to do once a year pest control? Do we want to do quarterly? Because we've done both in our careers, and we settled on once a year. For us, we felt that was the best treatment to do based on we know how to do it from working at Middleton and Lee at Sears. And we felt it was best for our customers. So we decided on once a year pest control. Our customers love the once a year. They love the idea of it to come out once instead of 4 times. So it's less intrusive. We do a complete inside outside treatment once a year. Any service call covered for free for the entire year. And it's been very popular.
Wonderful. So tell me, Brad, you sharing some of that, it brings a couple of questions to my mind. Are you able to speak to, when it came down to the two great options that you had, what were some of the things that helped you make your decision to go towards Middleton? I mean, what was more attractive? Because that was your situation. Someone in the same situation may have chose to go the other way, right? But what was
Sure.
it about the offers or the opportunities that were attractive to you that made you go that way?
One of the big things was when I got the offers and I did more research was to find out the story of Chuck Steinmetz and how he built Middleton up, and that they did pest control, termite protection, and the need for it in Florida. It's needed. Trust me, it's needed in Illinois, but because of weather conditions, the bugs like Florida, like I like Florida. It's warmer and there's generally more activity, especially in the winter, than in Illinois with cold and snow and stuff like that. So it just came down to, it looked like a better opportunity to learn the pest control and termite industry, as well as Middleton was a big, long servicing company as well, rather than just focus on lawn service.
And then how about, so along that path, you had, I would think, at least as an outsider looking in, the company was acquired by another wonderful company, Massey.
Right. Right.
And so what were some of the things, you were there for a few years, what were some of the things that you learned while, and I don't know if the brand folded in or if the Middleton brand ran side by side with the Massey brand, it probably doesn't really matter, but what were some of the things that you learned during that time? Because certainly there was a tremendous amount of change,
Right.
when that happens. And so how was that experience?
It was a good experience, actually. The basically Middleton ran for about a year. It took a year to kind of transition Middleton into Massey, where it was then just Massey as a company after about a year. Massey's a great family-owned company. That was a great thing about it. And like I already talked about Harvey Massey, just a great human being, not just a great pest operator. Also got to learn quarterly. For me, I'd never done quarterly pest control before. So, I got to see the benefits of quarterly compared to once a year. And that led further down the line to us taking a hard look at which way do we want to go, because we can see the benefits and the possible drawbacks of each. So there's a lot of learning that came with Massey for sure.
So let's go there then too. I mean, it may shock you to know, but in Phoenix, there are some, and Moxie, certainly here in Phoenix, we're more of a quarterly type.
Sure.
Come once a season, you need us in between calls, will come for free sort of deal. But there are a lot of companies that still go to their customers' homes or places of business in Phoenix once a month, which to me, that's never made a whole lot of sense. I understand that perhaps in multifamily or commercial, there's, regulations that say that it needs to be a monthly sort of thing. And so that's something different. But there are a lot of residential general pest companies that are still going to their clients' places once a month. And, my thought is, I think that that's unnecessary. I think that if you're using the right kinds of products, you have the right kind of training,
Right.
and the expectations are set in a way that has customers knowing they can call if there's ever any issues. Then you can certainly perhaps not need to go out as frequently. But maybe tell us a little bit. But so in my mind, once a year, I'm like, holy cow, is that even possible? Can that be done? Obviously, it can, and not just in your model today at Eagle, but in the previous Middleton model. Could you tell us maybe a little bit about that philosophy and thought process? And,
Sure.
as you and Lee were faced with, hey, what do we do? What were some of those either conversations like or pieces of data that you used? Well, one of the things that I gleaned from you just in kind of getting to know you before is you are a numbers guy. You're very specific to the decimal point about where new leads are coming in and things like that. And so I know that this was certainly a data-driven decision.
Definitely. We took a lot of look, Lee and I, at numbers, and I agree with you on the monthly. As far as in Florida, it's very rare for there to be a residential, and we're a residential pest control company. We don't do commercial pest control. Like you said, that's different. But it's very rare for there to be a company here that's doing monthly. And that goes right to the products being used. Depending on your model, quarterly, and how you go about that and the products you're using, they last 3 months on the outside of the home. You update them, you cover service calls for that year. With once a year, we do the inside and outside once a year. So we don't do the inside once and then forget about it. We update it every year. We don't spray inside on a standard pest control treatment. We're using the gel bait, the dust, different things like that in the right spots. But we do a complete treatment. We use Termidor for the spray, so it lasts a lot longer. It's great for roaches and ants, as you know. So every product we're using and how we use it is designed to last all year. And then service calls, we're known for very fast service response. We have found that our service calls percent compared to when we were with quarterlies are right at the same. And we get to our customers ASAP. If they have an issue, they bring German roaches home or whatever. So in our minds, it's definitely quarterly. There's great quarterly pest control companies, and it fits their model. And then there's some great once a year companies. Still, Eagle Pest happens to be one of them, thankfully. But like we know Jim Swain with Safer Home Services that does once a year pest control. He's an old Middleton guy as well. So there are a lot of other companies, not just Eagle Pest, that are doing it, even though I know quarterly is very popular. So,
can you tell us, or do you know, Brad, off the top of your head, do you know how many callbacks on average your customers use in a year? So you go once a year, you do the paid treatment, inside out, whole 9 yards, top to bottom, front to back, everything. And then does that customer call 2 times a year because they have issues, or 0.5 times because they have issues, or what's the data on that?
A little over 1.8 times. A little over 1.8. Yeah. So we're out not quite 3 times a year on average. Plenty of customers were good for the entire year. And then, a customer will unfortunately bring German roaches or delivered in an Amazon box or something.
And you might be there 4 or 5 times.
Right. Exactly. Yes, sir. Yeah. So it definitely varies.
Okay. So you and Lee, it came time to do your own thing. Very beginning of the year, 2020, Eagle Pest Control. You guys decided on at least the frequency and the business model. You guys opened literally days, weeks before the pandemic. Tell us a little bit about, because, I'm sure that a lot of pest control companies opened at that same time.
Sure.
I just haven't spoken to any, and I don't know how many of them are still around, because that is a difficult thing. It's even for established companies to go through. What were the first couple of months like, or quarters like? Opening a home service business right at the beginning of a pandemic, when people were just losing their minds and not knowing what was happening or what was going on, or how safe people were, or if they could go outside, or how many masks they needed to wear, or all the rest of it.
Yeah, big unknown at that time for people, everybody. It was difficult for sure, because we're a brand new company looking to establish our brand, Eagle Pest Solutions. So we had to do kind of pivot even more so to networking to get through that first year. We got a tremendous amount of our first year revenue for recurring business from networking partners, for sure. We made mistakes. I know we had great timing on on starting the business, as it turned out, but for some reason we never had COVID, Austin, in our business plan, if that happened for some reason. But we made adjustments, we made pivots. For example, the radio, we got the radio ads ready to go, and they started immediately right when COVID just hit the news everywhere. So that was something that I think in kind of normal times, if you will, I think radio is still a great thing for pest control companies to get their name out there and their brand out there. But we just didn't get the return on investment, I assume, because of COVID at the time. And like I mentioned when we talked a little bit earlier, I want to do radio again. I think radio is a great thing here, and have a lot of business networking partners who do radio, and they have a great return on investment. It's just timing, I believe. But that first year, it was definitely business networking that got us through that first year. And still today, the first 3 years, a little over 3 years in business, 25.3% of our recurring revenues come from networking partners, referrals. So if there's the biggest thing I could say to anybody out there in the pest industry, but especially newer companies, is business networking, get to know other businesses, their owners, their salespeople, et cetera. Because if you're committed to it, it definitely pays off.
Well, and that's a great segue into the networking piece that I think we both want to discuss. 25% today, but in the first year of business, it was upwards of 2/3 or around 66% of your reoccurring revenue that was coming in was. And just so everyone's aware, when Brad talks about networking and referrals, he's not casual about this. He's not saying, "Hey, you should ask," every once in a while, or when. I mean, he is very involved in multiple networking groups and definitely has experience there. I think even chairs or is heads one of them up. And so, could you tell us a little bit more, Brad, about your thoughts on networking, why it's important, and how it really buoyed up your company in that first critical year? And it's still today, I mean, a quarter, maybe it goes down to 20% this year in 2023, but my goodness, 20% of your new business coming from networking and referrals, that is remarkable. And if you think about it this way, everyone, that's 20% that you're not getting if you're not doing that already. And so what would your business look like, or could look like, if you were doing some of the activities or putting some energy into it, like Brad is going to describe to us now?
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. The first year, we probably wouldn't have made it if it wasn't for business networking. And what happened was, in, I believe, February of 2020, I met with my friend Omar Rivera. He owns Dr. Paint here on Palm Coast. And we had a one-to-one, basically, talking. I'm letting him know what we're doing with our business. He's letting me know how he's doing with Dr. Paint. And at the end, I asked him a simple question. I said, I'm thinking about starting my own referral team, business networking team. Are you interested to start it with me? Immediately, he said, yes, definitely. And so we started Referral Diamond Club, is what we named it. And so we're the co-founders of that. We have a great membership committee, great members. We have a social media person that takes care of our social media. That's a member. And we've got it's built up to about 29 members. But we focus on referrals, but also education, and for new members to teach them, how you go about referring and getting to know each other. It's not just coming to the meeting. It's about meeting with each other one-to-one to get to know each other better and see how you can refer each other. So that Referral Diamond Club has been great for us and a lot of other small business people in Palm Coast, in Flagler County. Also, I was able to get in with Palm Coast Business Professionals Network, another really good referral networking team. They've been doing it for 20 years. They've got 30 some members. And I guess I'm doing something right. I don't know, unless it was a punishment because I became director and they voted me in as director. So something happened there. So, but that group's been great. And then I belong to a third group, Leads into the Future. They've got a tremendous amount of people that come to the meetings. I've met a lot of great people there. So from those three groups combined, it's really helped our business. And we, even as important or more importantly, we've helped a lot of other businesses grow their business.
That's fantastic. What do you say to somebody that I don't know if afraid is the right word, but because that takes a certain personality type. They've got to be a little bit more outgoing, a little less introverted, perhaps. But I think even the introverts want to grow and want to have some of that connection, and certainly be on the receiving end of referrals. I mean, how would you encourage people to get involved in either their local referral? I know BNI is a big one all over. There's different networking groups that have just chapters all over, and you could spend literally 40 hours a week just going to these meetings and participating. But how would you encourage people to get involved, Brad?
No, that's a great point, and I would say one thing. I mean, some of our top performing referral partners are introverts. Sometimes introverts, they listen better. They listen and to you and how they can refer you. But yeah, a lot of people, if you're just starting out, it's brand new, it's going to be anxious, it's going to be nervous. Like with us, it's just come, sit in a meeting, see how you like it, and then we go up and talk to the new member. Also, for those people, you're not alone. The leadership in good, and there's differences in different referral teams, but in good referral teams, guess what? They want you to be successful. The leader's going to work with you, help train you on what works, how to grow your business, how to get to know the other members. And it's like anything else. The more you do it, the more comfortable you're going to get with it. We had I remember one guy, Charles Merkel, 2 years ago, where he is now to where he started, night and day. But it's because he committed, he kept coming, learning, and Charles is remarkable person. So you just got to show up, and you're not going to be put under a spotlight or anything. You'll be okay. I guarantee you.
It sounds just like any other skill. If you put the work in, you'll improve that skill and get a little bit better. And some people may start out a little bit ahead of you or a little bit behind you. But if that's something you want to do well at or succeed in, it's just time and effort and practice and showing up every day.
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
Brad, as we start to round this out a little bit, I know that you have an incredible relationship with your partner, Lee. I know that when you met, you, as you said earlier, became fast friends. A lot of people have been involved in partnerships that haven't, to say the least, gone quite as well as your and Lee's has. And so I wonder if you would share some of your thoughts about why you feel this particular partnership has gone well and has been positive and has been a good venture to be a part of.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, Lee Parcell is just a great partner. Again, we've known each other for about 15 years now. And number one, we trust each other. Number two, we both bring something. I mean, I know about products, I know how to treat. He knows sales and networking, but I'm more the expert in sales, networking, marketing, dealing with vendors. Lee's up here as far as his knowledge of service and products, and he will test products before we use them even to make sure they work right for the customer. So we both have kind of our own lanes that we do, and because that we fit like this, and together we're very strong, which is great. If either one of us, I don't want to speak for Lee, but if either one of us did it by ourselves, not saying we couldn't have done it, it would have been a lot more difficult in this case. So I think because we're kind of opposite strengths is why it works. If Lee and I were the same, we both were experts at the top level on service or on sales and networking, then sometimes I think we may have butted heads a little bit. So,
yeah. Well, that's fantastic. And I'm glad, Brad, that things are going so well, obviously for you and for Lee, and that transitions and translates over into your business, Eagle Pest Solutions, which I know is growing, and you guys are breaking growth records every month and every quarter and every year. As we finally round this out, I want to give you the last word. To share maybe just some parting thoughts or parting pieces of wisdom for those that may still be reeling from the pandemic or post-pandemic,
Sure.
or for those that are either thinking about going out on their own that quite haven't made that jump yet and done it. From someone who's recently been there, done that, what are some of the things that you would say to those that haven't quite done it yet?
Sure. Number one, we've made mistakes. And like we talked about earlier, all entrepreneurs are going to make some, but that's how you learn and you get stronger. We have plenty of mentors that we have for sure. When faced with COVID, we pivoted a little bit on what we were doing, how we were doing it as far as getting business, and jumped in even further into business networking. In the get-go, I would say, don't today, hey, I want to start a business, do it tomorrow. Do a little bit of research like we did. We spent 9 months researching, looking, talking, discussing, etc., including people in the industry before we got to the point where let's do this. So we were prepared, other than for COVID. We weren't prepared for that. But for us personally, as far as getting business, again, it's be active networking, maybe get active. We do certain things, certain events. We donate sometimes to certain charitable organizations, stuff like that. Definitely have a Google business page and build that up and have a strong Google business page. And be active on social media. We get a lot of business from social media as well, organically. So those are the things that have worked for us. And I know networking in particular and Google business page works for us. It works for my friend Omar and Dr. Paint. He's the one, and another friend, Paul, told us we really needed to get a strong Google business page. And thank goodness to Omar and Paul for their advice on that. But definitely want to thank all our customers. We're doing this for our customers, do it the right way, to be there for them if there's an issue, to take care of it. And thank you to all the business partners we have, and we continue to develop new business partners, helping each other be stronger in the community and grow their businesses.
It's fantastic. Brad, thank you so much for sharing. Thank you for your time and for the pieces of wisdom that over the course of your career so far you've been able to learn or acquire and then share with us. How finally do people carry on the conversation? Do they reach out to you? Are you active on social or LinkedIn, or what's the best way to get in contact with you?
The best way is Brad at eaglepestsolutions.com. Or you can feel free to call or text me directly, 386-283-0955. Always look for more connections to help each other for sure. And Austin, I want to make sure and thank you for having me on. I love listening to your podcast. I learn a lot from the guests that you have on here as well as yourself. So it's been a pleasure. Thank you.
No, thank you very much, Brad. And I appreciate you saying that. You know, it sounds a little self-serving and cliche to say, but really the one that learns the most from these, I think, is me, because I'm able to, for a half hour or 45 minutes or an hour, to bend your ear and, bend people's ear, like Tommy Mello, who's running $100 million plus garage door company, or Ken Goodrich, who's running a $100 million plus HVAC company. And then just so many that are out there just grinding, doing it day in, day out, that will soon be running $100 million plus home service companies too. It doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't normally happen in the first year or two. It's just putting one foot in front of the other and getting it done every day. So I thank you for those kind words and for being on. And thank you so much to my audience too, for patching in every week, for liking, for subscribing, for sharing this. I love having conversations, not only with guests, but with people that reach out that just have questions. And a quick kind of end of this is I had a conversation with a young man from Romania last week who has a pest control company. And I never thought in 100 years, just starting this a couple of years ago, that I'd be talking to people in Romania about pest control. And it was cool because I think it was around noon here in Phoenix. And this guy had just, it was the end of the day. He was tired. He was a little beat down. And I was proud of him because he was making the time to further his education, to reach out and learn some things or ask some questions when he could have just went to bed, like most of us want to do at the end of a long day. So it's been very rewarding and neat to be a part of. So thank you, everybody. Awesome. These are dropping every Thursday or so, once a week from here on out. And thank you so much for tuning in. Until the next one, create a great day.
Thank you for listening to the Multiply You podcast. You'll see us again soon when you subscribe for future episodes.